We've got breaking news out of college football. Number 6 Notre Dame is named CJ Carr their starting quarterback. Carr beat out Kenny Minchey for the starting nod in camp. They were battling to take over for Riley Leonard, who is currently in camp with the Indianapolis Colts after leading the Irish to the national championship game a year ago. The Irish will have a big test to start the season. They're going to hit the road to take on number 10 Miami next Sunday night. For more on this development, we bring in our national college football reporter, Matt Zenitz. Matt, it's a very different situation than what we've seen in South Bend in the past. The few seasons before, it was Sam Hartman, Riley Leonard. We get a QB battle, and now it is CJ Carr. How'd we get here?
I mean, it's a legitimate competition. So it's an interesting process, first of all. We went from CJ Carr being widely viewed as the clear favorite throughout the course of much of the offseason to, within the last couple of weeks, Kenny Minchey emerging as a real factor in this competition. And depending on who you talk to, some people actually viewing him as maybe having the slight edge at different points in the last couple of weeks, to now CJ Carr in the last couple of days reemerging here in this battle and ultimately winning the job.
All right, Matt, certainly a lot to keep our eye on, but we've got a starting QB in Notre Dame. We appreciate the time. You can get more of Matt Zenitz and our entire College Football Insiders crew by listening to their podcast, College Football Insiders, bringing you the latest on and off the field on the college football gridiron. You can get plugged in by scanning that QR code right now. Let's continue the conversation as we bring in the host of another CBS Sports podcast, the Cover 3 podcast, with our guy Chip Patterson. Chip, Matt sort of laid out how we got here, and he mentioned that this race was neck and neck the whole way. What's your reaction to CJ Carr being the starter at Notre Dame?
I'm surprised. I think that Kenny Minchey brought his lunch pail. He brought a great work ethic. He brought a performance that was consistent enough to really provide a challenge for a prospect in CJ Carr, who's a little bit more highly ranked and regarded coming out of high school. Clearly, he has the pedigree, being the grandson of Lloyd Carr, of being high expectations. We think that he's someone who eventually could be a first-round NFL draft pick. And so to all of a sudden have a position where Kenny Minchey's making a run at it, the other side of that, Haley, is that CJ Carr just hadn't done enough to really grab hold of this job. Now, there is an iron sharpens iron argument that CJ Carr will be better because of what Kenny Minchey has brought to this competition, and that is possibly where we are. I think that CJ Carr, in my opinion, does have the higher long-term upside, but here's the problem. We don't need long-term. You look at that Notre Dame schedule, we need now. We need instant results. You are playing against Miami on the road in week 1. You are playing against Mike Elko's Texas A&M defense in your second game of the season. You've got Arkansas. You've got Boise State. I mean, there is just not a lot of time to be able to learn on the fly. And so I come back to the investment in CJ Carr. I come back to the long-term plan for CJ Carr. And maybe there was a thought within that Notre Dame brain trust that they just need to let CJ Carr get out there in the live action so that he can show what they believe he can do long term.
Something that you mentioned, though, is that maybe he might not be ready. There's not enough time for him to get there. He did sit behind Riley Leonard last year, and I know that watching versus getting the actual playing experience isn't the same, but I guess he is the starter. So for Notre Dame fans, what do they need to know about CJ Carr? Why should they be excited about him being the starter, knowing that they're following Riley Leonard?
Right. I mean, he's different, 6'3". He's taller. He's got more of the pro body type. He does have a better arm, better deep ball accuracy than Riley Leonard did. He does not have the kind of mobility that Riley Leonard was able to provide. Riley Leonard, but was behind Jeremiah Love as the team's second leading rusher with hundreds and hundreds of yards, a lot of them in really big games. You are not going to get that out of CJ Carr. But I just mentioned, honestly, one of the biggest X factors here. It's Jeremiah Love, because what a joy it must be for either CJ Carr or Kenny Minchey when you're going up against the likes of Miami and Texas A&M and those ferocious defensive fronts, to have one of the best running backs in the entire country standing beside you in the backfield. I think that that is where we get to see the game planning and the play calling become so important, because now Notre Dame is going to go into every single game in these opening weeks understanding what they have, what their limitations are, and ways that they can help their new starting quarterback with with Jeremiah Love and really a deep running back room, even behind him, that ranks among the best in the entire country. So while we have a lot of questions about CJ Carr avoiding interceptions, making the right decisions, not forcing the issue, they just need to remind CJ, all you need is love.
All
Jeremiah
you need
love.
is
He can
love.
get you there.
I love that, Chip. Just continuing the love. I was going to mention, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it is interesting that you went to that Texas A&M game. But of course, they opened the season against one another last year. Notre Dame got the win, 23-13, and your boy Jeremiah Love had 14 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. So if they're leaning on the love, they've got CJ in the driver's seat of the car there. What's the ceiling for this Notre Dame team in 25?
Compete for a national championship. You played for it last year. I think that the expectation, regardless of whether it was going to be CJ Carr or Kenny Minchey, was that you weren't just going to make the college football playoff and have a quick exit. This is a team that is built to compete year over year over year. I was so impressed, Haley, by the way that Notre Dame overcame multiple season-ending injuries to starters and just continued that charge. 12 straight wins all the way to the national championship game after the loss to Northern Illinois early in the season. And so, yeah, they did lose a lot of players to the NFL, Riley Leonard among them. But what they showed in that run is the ability to have their backups and the backups all be ready to go when their number is called. And so I think that this roster is healthy. It is competitive. National championship expectations are fair and real. We don't always see them with the first-time starter like this, but we've seen it enough for it to be on the top of mind for Notre Dame fans.
Maybe a lot to love in Notre Dame. All right, Chip, I'm done. That's the last love joke I'm making for the day. Appreciate your time. We are excited to see Notre Dame and Miami kick off week 1 with CJ Carr behind center for the Fighting Irish. Plenty more of Chip Patterson and the entire Cover 3 podcast crew. You can scan that QR code to get locked in to all the latest headlines in college football right now.